Welcome to Poker Life. Next question, Crispin. Is cheating rampant in poker?
Rampant? No. But it definitely does happen, and it's more prevalent in certain formats than others.
So what are the most common ways people cheat?
Well, online, one could argue it's the most prevalent because people can collude. So if you are playing at a table, there aren't any guarantees that someone else at the table isn't colluding with another player, speaking on the phone or VoIP chat or whatever, Discord, and discussing their hand and joint strategy to collude against others. Now, it's less of a risk in large multi-table tournaments because there's no guarantee that you get the same table, but more common in cash games, particularly PLO formats where the cards you have is numerous and highly important in terms of blockers and various issues like that. That said, the major poker providers, the PokerStars of the world, GG, etc., they do have very effective detection mechanism tools to see whether or not your style of play at a particular table is dramatically different than it is at other tables you might be playing at, or the way you're playing against a particular player, how often you play with that player, etc. So there are detection mechanisms in place, and I personally have received refunds from poker providers when I didn't even realize myself. They just emailed me and said, oh, we detected some illegal play on one of your cash game tables. The two players were colluding. Here is your refund. So they do get onto that quite seriously, and I definitely, if you're thinking about doing it, please recognize that you will ultimately be detected. It's hard to beat the system in that respect. The other way is, of course, live poker. There's all these angle shoots.
What's an angle shoot?
Well, an angle shoot is when you do something to get an unfair advantage by acting out in a certain way. So you might bet out of turn in a certain way. You might act like you don't speak the language when in fact you do. Like, they're not necessarily strictly against the rules of poker, but they are exploiting something that is beyond the normal realm of play. Okay, you're doing something that is deliberately aimed to get an advantage over somebody else, hiding your big chips behind your stack, things like that, where you're doing something unethical to get an advantage rather than just play poker as a straight shooter. Other forms of cheating.
Do you give hand signals? No, that's collusion, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, there's been big cheating scandals. The big one that's always in the press is live streams, because people can play live poker on a stream. It's really popular. People can watch. It's supposed to be with a delay, so people can commentate on people's play, and it's one of the things that's really important for poker. It gets poker to the mainstream. It gets people to watch on YouTube. It gets people engaged in the game. So we don't want to see those end. But there have been some various cheating scandals. Now, I don't want to say cheats, because even in the most egregious examples, it hasn't been proven in any court of law. But if you are able to see the stream in real time, you can see your opponent's cards, and therefore you will definitely not lose. There is also cases where people have hacked online sites and been able to reveal the whole cards of their opponents. That hasn't happened for a long time, as far as I'm aware, but certainly in the early days, people could run scripts to kind of hack into the system and see what other people were doing. So if you can sort of hack the system in some way, either through a live stream or through online to see someone else's cards, that is a major form of cheating, of course. There is also in tournaments, there's chip dumping, where perhaps you are a group of people and you all agree that you're going to give all your chips to one player and you're going to work together to try and avoid each other. Now, there is a certain degree of that which will happen no matter what. So say, for example, I have done a deal swap with some other player so we can even out our variance. Let's say we find ourselves on the final table of a major tournament together, right? Well, we obviously have a financial incentive not to bust one another. So we might end up doing some kind of soft play to avoid that. Now, everyone can say, well, I wouldn't do that. That's totally... No. It's just a natural thing. Everybody is going to maximize their own self-interest in those situations. There was a really great example that a commentator was talking about where people debate whether it's cheating or not. There was a guy who was on the bubble of a major tournament, and he had a huge stack, had everyone covered by a lot. And there was someone who was in the small blind, he was in the big blind. They went all in for like 1.5 big blinds, right? It was half a big blind for him to call. He tanked and he folded, right? Why would you fold there when you can absolutely bust someone? Well, he got interviewed by this and he says, why would I want the bubble to end? Everyone's afraid of busting out before the money. That allows me to re-raise everybody on the bubble and get a lot of folds. I don't want the bubble to burst. It's in my interest to fold to this person next to me and keep them in the tournament so as that everybody else has to fear for their tournament life. Some people, he actually got penalized in that tournament. This was many years ago, but is that actually cheating? I don't think it is. It's just maximizing your interest. So there is a threshold there somewhere. I'm very big on poker etiquette because it's important for the game. People need to feel welcome. They have to feel like they're not being taken advantage of. So I'll give you another example where there's a lot of debate. Is it cheating if you can see somebody else's cards and you haven't done anything untoward to reveal those cards? There is a case where someone was doing something untoward. There was a person next to them who was revealing their cards, but there was his sunglasses in the way, right? So the person next to him couldn't actually see his cards because the person's sunglasses was in the way. Well, the person next to him, in order to be able to get a better view, moved his glasses so that he could see the person's. And then these weren't his glasses, they were the other players. So he was moving somebody else's property to get a better view. That, in my view, is crossing a line. You are re-angling things that aren't yours to make it more difficult for another player to protect their cards, and you are seeing their cards as a consequence. However, if you're just sitting there minding your own business and you see through the corner of your eye someone has revealed their cards, in my opinion, you're on no obligation to tell that person, okay? Or to denounce to the table. It's every player's responsibility to protect their cards. That is a known rule of poker. If you are paying attention, you can get tells in other ways. This is just a big tell, if you can see their actual cards, okay? That said, if there was someone who was totally a recreational player, new to the game, didn't really know what they were doing, of course, I'd say, hey, other people can see those cards. Be very careful. It's your responsibility to protect those cards, so make sure and give them pointers on how to do that effectively. So if we're talking new people, recreational people, I'm not going to take advantage of that. It's really important to keep them welcome, keep them coming back. But if there are people that are serious regs and they're not protecting their cards, well, look, you've got to protect your cards in poker. So, but people will disagree with me. This will be a controversial thing that I've just said. And I think of myself as someone who's big on poker etiquette. I think that it's really important, but it is your responsibility to protect your cards.
Interesting. So bring back to you guys. What cheating have you experienced when playing poker? What are you most afraid of? And where do you draw the line for cheating? Leave your thoughts and comments down below, and we'll see you next time.
Goodbye.